and again, hitting isolate. So here we are. It's still a very simple model, really a stack of boxes, but we can use it to calculate the sum of square footages for each space type, and we'll feed that into the estimate. So let's go to the planned cost, back to number 5. And what I want to do, let's rotate this a little bit. Create some more space for the cost information. So we now have a number that is based on the total square footage of the building, and we want to refine the interior finishes per space type. So I have predefined line items in my template, as you can see here. I got corridor, and I got my corridor takeoff items associated with it. So again, the highlighting helps me to identify where those zones are in the building, where those rooms are. And that way I can make sure that all the scope for corridor is covered. I'm switching to education now, so that's the line item for education, office, hospitality, and laboratory. And again, I can spin the model and take a look at where those spaces are. Really a way to make sure that all the scope is covered. Let's open the quantity data to see how the quantities are used. Enlarging that a bit. And let's take a look at how we can add additional layers, so splitting that up into wall finishes. And we use the lobby perimeter quantity for this one and assign a 10 square foot per square foot consumption to that. And of course, when I select the most detailed level, you can also see the feedback again in the model. I'm creating a little bit more space for the price column. So these are not yet active. I just added the quantity information. So what I want to do now is make them part of the active price calculation of the project. So I'm using activate assembly again. Now you can see the price is immediately updated. So I now get the more accurate price. And you can also see that in the 3D model. The C30 interior finishes now uses all the spaces in the model. With that, I can make sure that for interior finishes, all my scope is covered. And so everything is yellow. I'm sure that everything is included. You can see the price on the project level is also updated. And what we want to do next is save a version of this cost line. I created one earlier for the previous status. I can enter a comment here so that it's easier for me to recognize the version later. This is a zone-based model. That's how I want to recognize it. And what I did with it is I refined the interior finished cost. Save that, and that will be available for my comparison later. Now switched to Revit, where I have a detailed model of the steel and concrete structure, as you can see here. And let's see, I'm going to rotate that a bit to take a good look. And I want to use that to really refine those sections of my cost plan. So I've published that to Office. Back in Office, I'm going to manage the models. So back to the input screen. And you can see these are the Revit models that we use for that, the structural location 1 and 2. Already active in the project. Let's also filter those out to take a closer look at them. Again, here's the list with both ArchiCAD and Revit models. I hit isolate and select apply for that filter. And that's the model that we want to use to refine the input for some of the sections of our cost line. Before we do that, I want to take a look at the takeoff that is loading. The takeoff manager provides you with an overview of all the takeoff items that were created upon activation. So this is what you can modify as needed. Let me make that a little bit smaller to get a better look on the 3D model. I can sort this list of takeoff items, and I coded these in such a way that it's easy for me to find the takeoff items that I need. So let's take a look at the continuous footings here. I can select them in the list, and while I select those takeoff items, they're highlighted in the model. So I can spin the model and again highlight it. It also works in the takeoff manager. You can see the elements that are part of those takeoff items selected in the takeoff manager. If I want to take a closer look, I can also isolate them. I'm isolating models now and spin that around. And each of the takeoff items contains a set of takeoff quantities. So if I look at this continuous footing, I get all these quantities that were extracted using the Vico Office quantity extraction algorithms. And I can use those as input for my cost calculation. So let's go to the cost calculation now to start using those quantities. And as we saw, there's quite a bit of information. Let's collapse this first. I want to activate the quantity data and align this a bit. There's quite a bit of information for the foundation structure, so we want to use that in those line items that we have available from the template. So let's start at the thickened slap-on grade and start using the quantities that we have there. So I'm selecting a line item, and you can already see the formula that we use there in the formula bar. And those were entered using the formula editor. So that's what I'm opening here. This is the list of takeoff items that I have in the project. And when I scroll to the thickened slab, I get my list of quantities, and you can see which quantity that I use as input for this line item. Here's another one, and those are added up and result in the value that you see in the preview. I can repeat that on the next levels as well when I'm ready for that, when I have the information, costs for labor, etc., and do that for the other line items. Now what I want to do is activate those items in my cost plan. So I activate the assembly again, meaning more detailed information is added to the active price. And you can see the variance immediately, the immediate cost feedback. What I want to do next is add some content from the reference. Remember, we defined the reference in the project settings, and as you can see, it is presented with the green color that we selected in the defined settings. So green is everything that we got from the cost reference that we selected. Now I want to pull some information from that reference, and I would actually like to add a new line item for one of the columns that I'm missing. I'm scrolling to that section of the standard reference information that contains that. There we go. That's big column, column M. And what I do is I simply drag and drop that information from the reference into my project. So column M, with everything included, I'm dragging that into B10. It now tells me that I have a conflict. There's some pre-existing information. This gives me a way to update my information. So what I did is I updated my cost per unit. Oh, I see that this is in the wrong group. So I grab that and I move it to B10, and now it belongs to the superstructure group as a subassembly. And then I can start filling out the quantities using one of the takeoff items or multiple of the takeoff items that I created. As you can see, a direct copy of what I had in the reference. Right. Now, in the meantime, the project team has continued, and another model has been made available. Let's go back to the Manage Models, and that is the exterior, so the facade. So architectural design team has developed a Revit model for that.